Oh, hey everyone. Welcome to Serenity Farms. This is the recovery room on the rocks. Today I'm pretty excited. I think what my goal to get across is people, because I'm a musician, I want to introduce people to musicians who have been going through the recovery process, who've had their ups and downs, but continually seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So today we have with us someone who I've known for a few years now, through a lot of mutual friends, a terrific guitar player, an incredible singer as well, done a lot of writing for people in Nashville, performs around Pittsburgh, pretty much covers a good chunk of the eastern part of the United States, and when called upon, the other parts. This is Mr. Craig Veltri, and I'm really happy. We've got a copy of his vinyl, and we're going to talk about some of his music.
I was suffocating. I was being pulled into a lot of different expectations from the school I was going to, the family that I was coming from. I knew this was the way that I was gonna do it. I'll give you an example. First time I went to Nashville, I was 21. My dad had this marvelous idea of saying, "Well, both the kids are 21 now. Let's go to Nashville and go to all the bars."
Oh,
Yeah, my dad is a very kind man, and I'll prove it in later on in this story. We go and visit the Ryman Auditorium. We take the tour. And part of the tour is they have the stage set up like an episode of the Grand Ole Opry.
oh yeah,
They have
yeah.
the backdrop with the barn, and they have a piano and two guitars and one of the Shure 55 mics that they would often use back in the day. It's a photo op. I took it as a performance op. I grab one of the guitars, play what I would come to find would be the wrong way to play Folsom Prison Blues. Key tip: hold the 5 at the end of the verse.
Do not go to the 4.
Do not go to the 4. I know you want to, but that's not how it goes. You get it. So I play that incorrect version, and even so, as the song is going on, a crowd has formed in front of the stage, in front of the staircase. Silence, applause of about 20 people. A woman comes up to me and says, "I want your autograph before you're famous."
Oh wow! Now did that cause a big head swell or?
I retold this story at Thanksgiving, and I said, "Okay, played the Ryman, check. Woman wanted my autograph, check." My dad said, "Did you get a check?"
Ooh,
"No, Dad, but I'm working on it." And eventually I
wisdom,
did.
yes, wisdom.
Yeah. The serious conversation happened afterwards. It's like, "Yeah, I want to do this. I want to go to Nashville." And, it's like, okay, let's. At one point, there was conversations about going to Belmont. It's like, I don't want to go to school. I want to, head right to Music Row. And my dad was like, "Okay, Craig, you want to be a star." Not really, but he was like, "Craig, you want to be a star." Everybody in Nashville wants to be a star.
Yeah, and you're a dime a dozen in Nashville, right?
Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, but I want to try. I didn't, dad, and, even at that advanced age of 20, mom and dad were God at that point. So, it's like, maybe don't. And then mom, of course, is like, "Craig, you're going to starve." So it's like, okay.
But that didn't even register. Like I'm hitting the ground running, and
it just discouraged me on a lot of different ways. And I, and again, mom and dad, now they are my biggest fans. Now they're my biggest fans. But it was a fight to get that music going. And, it's not a good idea to take a swing at your parents, so I just took swings of the bottle most of the time.
and that's a good transition point because as your life is changing, what you want to be is changing, so the pressure on you is also increasing. And you already said that you were having this, internal and strife maybe is not the right word. So now you're about to move on. Does the alcohol consumption start to increase?
Uh, yes. Eventually, you know, by the time I had turned, uh, I had made another stop. I decided kind of to compromise my ambition. I wound up going to a 4-year school. I had not quite failed out of a 4-year school at first, which would have been a full ride. I just went to a party school in North Carolina and drank my way out of it. Wasted my time in the first semester. The DWI hits. Family is in crisis, and I need to get out of there any way that I can. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, Nashville, too big of a risk. Don't want to buy the PA. Again, I'm kind of stuck somewhere between lack of ambition and trying to appease somebody else's vision of me. So I go to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro with the intent of becoming a journalist, a radio host, some kind of a personality. And I wind up really buckling down. I improved my grades at that community college, Central Piedmont Community College, get into UNC Greensboro, and spend 3 years, becoming attuned to the media side of things. And I enjoyed it. I obviously gained some skill in it if you listen to the intonation in my voice and, of course, my podcast now, the Craig Veltri interview. But
which we will get more to here because this is very, very important.
Of course. But, I was still doing open mics. I was still writing. I was still, that part of me wasn't letting go. And by the time I graduated college, I had joined a fraternity at the age of 25. And before anybody says, okay, you bought your friends, you were there for the parties, I was going to hang with these guys anyway. In fact, 3 of them were in my wedding and another 15 of them showed up. So money well spent. So I'm grateful for that time, and I'm still in contact with most of those guys. Anyway, my music, I was still releasing demos. I was still releasing songs. I had gotten a couple of gigs in the area. And by the time the second DWI hit, at that point, I really just kind of felt like I had nothing to lose. The jobs I was getting because of my criminal record weren't related to the field I was going into. I was announcing wrestling, which I enjoyed. I got to interview and work a lot of great shows, call a lot of cool matches, and I value and I think back on those times with some fondness, but I wasn't going anywhere, and I really wasn't enjoying my passion.
You're just kind of spinning your wheels.
Exactly, and eventually I was still hitting open mics, and I remember talking to Shannon Lee, a really great friend of mine, still to this day in the Charlotte area, a great songwriter. And I just remember saying to her one day, it's like, Shannon, I'm going to quit my job today, and I am going to just do this full time. I'm going to buy the PA. I'm going to dive in foot with both feet. That was 2014, and for the most part, that's how I've been making my living ever since.
And this is an interesting crossroads because in the world of being a musician, it's not like going to college, getting there and getting a job. When you're taking that route, you're okay. I'm going to drop down to here, start this all over again. And and I think this is
in my late 30s.
Okay, and then with the drinking as a coping mechanism with that. So let's kind of go into there. So you do start to get some traction musically, but now the alcohol and then your relationships, your marriage, things like that. It's kind of an ugly amalgamation of things, from emotional, from physical, so kind of touch on that a little bit as we start to move you into the future a little bit.
Well, at the point I was ready to move to Nashville, this is before you mentioned the marriage and everything, I thought I was sober enough.
I think that's kind of a common thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. My life had gotten good. I'd gotten some gigs here and there, some stuck around. I was just kind of learning that, the business is kind of almost a commodity-based kind of business. It tends to
Oh
fluctuate
yeah.
rather rapidly. See your nearest gas station sign anywhere.
And just to interject, I think that what people fail to realize is sometimes as a musician, on the musician side, you put a lot of time into honing your skill, but sometimes you want to sit and wonder why, like, that person can't do anything, and now they just got signed, things like that. And you have to realize that the bottom line, you have to love what you're doing
Absolutely.
because it's so much about luck sometimes.
One thing that and again, it took me a couple of years in recovery or even the lead up to it to even realize something that I had heard in a Baz Luhrmann song of all things. The race is long, and in the end, it is only with yourself.
Amen to that. That's very, very true. And that transcends music, that transcends addiction. That's life.
Yes. And
That is 100% life. And I always like to say that, every morning the sun comes up, hey, good, because if it doesn't, we're kind of screwed. So
or you're just in Pittsburgh.
yeah, the clouds. But I think those little bits of positivity, those because if not, you just kind of get consumed by the gloom and doom, right? And as a musician, it's probably even a little bit more so because we are often between our own ears as we're trying to create, and we're not necessarily reaching out because there's a certain internalism to writing music. There's an internal factor, and I think when you're starting to struggle with addiction, that has to be kind of counterproductive. Yet at the same time, it helps you write a little bit more.
Yeah, I look back on a lot of the songs that I was writing, not even about the drinking, but it was allowing me to tap into an anger that I'd always kind of suppressed.
That fine line between anger and passion, it's a very, very fine line.
Oh yeah, I've said it recently. The vinyl in front of you, letters to the defendant. I'm not writing those songs now. I was writing angrier before then. I have kind of found that, it says it in a lot of recovery books that righteous anger is a luxury that an alcoholic cannot afford. And it's not something that I avoid. I mean, I am still a sports fan, a
Yeah.
Pittsburgh sports fan, and it's still something that, I can dwell in, but it's something that I recognize as something that I just can't stay in very long. But the thing about my drinking is that, my moods were just so completely out of whack.
So and I think that this is an excellent point because your moods were out of whack. So this was affecting your other relationships. This was, and I'm guessing bursts of anger, things like that. So how was this coming into play with? I know you were married, things like that, or people that you were working with musically. Were you not showing up? Were you being angry and getting violent? Those types of things.
To the music, I remember one incident where I remember, well, how do you remember blacking out? But
Wow.
yeah, I remember auditioning a guitar player in Pittsburgh. I had moved back in 2020 as the world and in general was falling apart, as my world was falling apart, and my thought was, hey, let's move back to Pittsburgh and get sober.
And once again, you can't run away from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm starting the music back up again as the world is opening up. I auditioned this guy. I don't even remember who he is, and if he's listening out there, I apologize for myself that day because I got drunk and was pretty erratic. And needless to say, I never saw that guy or got a chance to ever play with him. As far as Nashville before then, there were times that I would get blackout drunk on stage, and that's another part of the reason I moved back from Pittsburgh. I was losing work. So, I mean, I'll just skip ahead, if I may, to to where it really came to me that this really could end my music, my ability to play music. I'm in a rehab facility, Banyan Clearbrook, in Laurel, Pennsylvania, just outside of Wilkes-Barre. Beautiful facility. Love them for what they did to me, did for me as well. I'm about 4 days in. I finally get my hands on a guitar. They have a piano and other musical instruments in the rec room. I get my hand on this guitar, and I'm playing Growing Up by Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple walk down. It's a C shape, F C A. This is the motion for the viewers.
Yes, it is.
I couldn't do that.
Now, was it a physical thing or was it a mental block?
It was a physical thing. It was neuropathy. It was like anytime I put my hand to the string, it was like I was pushing a sandbag into the string, and it hurt. It burned. Not in the way that you're a bass player, not in the way that it's supposed to hurt. I mean, it was like my hand was about to permanently fall asleep on me. And at that point, I was like, oh, this is what I sounded like to people in at points near the end, because I was still playing.
So this was that, that realization point is always super dynamic when it hits. So this is that moment for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, it had already claimed my marriage. Only time I'll ever thank Jack Daniels. But it had claimed my marriage. It had claimed my life. It had wasted 20 years of my life up to that point. I mean, we don't regret the past, nor would you shut the door on it.
It's done and over. All you could do is either regress or grow. Right?
Exactly. The best time to have quit drinking is before I did, but the second best time was when I did, and I'm glad I did. I don't want to trade it in for anything, but I look back on my drinking career, and I had so many people and so many opportunities to jump into the lifeboat, and there were times I did. I had 3 months here, 6 months there, 9 months there. I actually went to an AA meeting once to get my year chip, and I had a drink that night just to stick it to them.
So it was just a form of spite.
Yeah.
Like, screw you, I'll do what I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so defiant. Yes.
So I think, and I think this is another good transition point. You're talking about, having the neuropathy being a big trigger. What was the next big trigger that really got you onto the path?
It was a conversation, and I'll talk about, it'll be one of the songs that I play for you later. It was a conversation that I had with a fellow patient. He was a school teacher from New York City. His name was Derek. And we're sitting in the commons area outside. It overlooked the Susquehanna River. It was 4th of July weekend. Not only did I get to see a fireworks ceremony that night, I saw all of them.
Oh, wow.
In the valley. So we're sitting in that general area. Beautiful day. And I know that I didn't do a full month at that rehab facility. I only did 12 because, well, I had to get back to work. So I said to him, what if none of this matters? What if I'm just evil? I've become the villain of my own story at this point.
You see, I think a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people.
Well, this is what Derek said to me in mid sentence, like you just did. He said, "Stop, Craig. Stop. 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 You are not a bad guy. You're sick. You are here to get help.
Your actions end up being bad, but your core is not."
Exactly. He said, maybe you became the bad guy in the story, but guess what? You have a chance. You are still the good guy. And at that moment, I really found God at that point. Not, it wasn't like burning bush or anything. I actually found God later that afternoon written on a rock.
Interesting.
It was a paperweight in the rec room, and I noticed it, and it said God's, as an acronym, good, orderly direction.
Oh, wow.
Well, I had mentioned already in this conversation that I'd renounced my faith. I didn't believe in God, but if that is what a program of recovery is offering, I look back at my life, I really had no direction, nothing orderly anyway. And if that's what this program was offering me, if that is what it was going to take for me to prevent me from blowing my life up again, okay, I'm buying.
But there is an element of spirituality to that, right?
I
Maybe in a
I've
Zen
ki-
kind of way, you know.
I would say in a Zen sort of way, reframing of perspective sort of way.
Okay.
I'm pretty open about the fact that I remain atheist when it comes to my life. I don't believe that. I don't believe in God. I don't believe that the stories that I was told about God as a kid. And it makes more sense that the world makes no sense. Nature really doesn't care.
The chaos theory.
In the chaos theory, exactly. So I've been asked about it in meetings. I'm very open about it in this forum and other forums. And people ask me, well, then why do you pray and meditate? Because that is a huge part of my recovery process.
And it's funny you say that because, I believe that, in life, and this may sound so simple, when you try to do a little bit of good, which is considered godlike, it helps build you, right? So when you're doing, and that could be through your songwriting, that could be from deeds, right? And then the thing that comes into play, and some people have it with religion, I believe, and I'm seeing this more in recovery because, part of the reason I do this podcast is I want people who aren't in recovery like me to understand that it's more of I'll just get those people out of here. They're no good. That's bullshit.
Nope.
Because there are a lot of good people who go through struggles, and people who aren't, they need to, there's a level of ignorance.
Of course.
So I feel that, and you give anyone who is struggling, and that could be with an addiction, that could be with anything, that much confidence, and I will repeat this over and over again in my podcast, a little bit of confidence, and you grow. You start seeing the light and the positivity of it. As crazy as that may sound, because when you're stuck down at the bottom, that doesn't exist. But if you feel just a little bit of that, the warmth of that sunlight, things change. And do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. Like I said about my music, it was the only thing that I put into it. It gave back to me. My recovery, I see that too. Anything I put into my recovery, I give back. And the point of recovery, you can't keep it if you don't give it away. So it keeps feeding in to the whole entire spiritual, physiological apparatus.
It's like circular breathing, right?
Exactly.
So it's coming in and going out, the positivity, then you're bringing the fresh oxygen in. And I think that's a great way of looking at this. Once again, this is about transitioning. So now we get to this point. You've talked about the things that you believe, the things that you've done. Let's talk a little bit about this Craig Veltri, right? So some things you don't know about Craig, and I've known you for a few years. Craig is super talented. He is a terrific songwriter. You've written for many people.
I with the intent to write for a few people, and yeah, my latest project, Moonshine Vagabonds, is a duo project with myself and Megan Pennington. So yes, I have written for other people,
and we'll start to get a little bit more into that. But you're also a podcaster.
Yes.
So talk about your podcast.
Well, I host a podcast called The Craig Veltri Interview, where Craig Veltri interviews wonderful people. I am a songwriter, so mostly I've always dreamed of having a podcast where I can feature new music, and I've been doing that now we just passed our 4-year anniversary this past May.
And I recommend checking it out because it's always there's a positivity to it, but at the same time, it shows how much you're passionate about your creativity and other people's creativity.
Yes.
And you could see it when he's talking. You got that big, that I call the shit-eating grin on your face when you're when you're introducing people, you're talking about it. And once again, I bet that if you go back several years when you were in the throes of your addiction, that genuine smile and passion probably wasn't there.
I see old photos of me and old videos of me where I am hungover. I am probably mid delirium tremens. That I it's not a good look for me. It was I did sobriety looks a whole lot better
Yeah,
on
no
me.
one's going to say you wear that well.
So
So this is some of his vinyl,
Mhm.
and he's going to perform a song from here. You're going to do two songs, correct?
Yes.
So let's set up the first song. Tell us about the first song.
Uh, Alternate title, A View from the Bottom. It is a song called The Whiskey Has Its Way. I wrote that song maybe 6 weeks before I wound up actually pulling the trigger, going to rehab. I was at a point where I was either going to go to rehab or I was going to die. And at that point, I didn't really care. My ex-wife was out the door. I wanted her gone at that point. And we were holding on to something codependent,
Yeah.
and that's why letters to the defendant. It touches on my recovery, but it is mostly a and the horse you rode in on to my ex-wife, and so I. But that particular song, I chose it for this particular podcast because I will say if the song sounds like your life right now, I strongly suggest you get help because the next thing you're gonna die. I almost died.
And there are options out here. Places like here at Serenity Farms, we're offering so many different new ways of thinking. Just getting the headsets on for PTSD, learning job skills, and just a unique approach of openness with people no pun intended, the recovery room. Right? We're using these podcasts to get it out there. There's an element. Education never hurts on any level. But so as we get to the end of this, these songs, I think you're gonna be highly impressed with Craig's singing and playing ability. I think that if you are a musician, you could be reached out. People can reach you out through different ways, and maybe you could point people in directions as well.
Part of my recovery is helping others. So.
And absolutely, but I think even people like me, you got to make yourself available
Absolutely.
for other people when you can. It's not saying that that's every minute of your day, but when you could help others, that's vital. We live in a crazy world, and sometimes when you could lean on someone else a little bit, it takes a little bit of. Well, I've used the word chaos a few times to mitigate the chaos in life.
Of course,
music is a great outlet for that. So I really want to thank you for being here. I'm going to shake your hand too. And now we're going to get to hear Craig perform. We're here at Serenity Farms. Reach out to Serenity Farms. Go see Craig when he's performing live. Look for him online. And I think you're going to be impressed. But also, I think when you see what Craig does, and he's been pretty open today, that there's always hope. When you're stuck in the walls of your own brain, don't be afraid to step outside of that because that's how it gets better.
of course.
Because when you're stuck in your head the whole time and the anxiety's feeding you, you can't breathe. And I metaphorically can't breathe. And breathing should be the simplest thing that we do as humans. Sometimes it's hard, isn't it?
Oh, of course. And the fact of all of that is that I hated it when I first heard it, is that my best thinking got me here. And the greatest gift that recovery has given me is a brand new perspective. This place is called Serenity Farms, derived from the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. What is that wisdom to know the difference? To me, the answer is perspective. God grant me perspective. And it allowed me to
And the confidence to move forward.
and the confidence to move forward. That comes with knowing the difference. But I would say that that perspective has allowed me to accept the fact that this is a disease. It is an allergy that gets triggered, that triggers a phenomenon of craving, and without any other treatment, it is chronic, it's progressive, and without help, I will die from it.
And I've heard people so many times call it like worms of impulsivity. Like the impulsive worms start to bore
Monkey
in.
on your back,
all
things like that. Yeah.
So let's be positivity, right? So we're gonna have Craig play some music for you now, which I think it has healing power. I think that it's it's an exercise in creativity, but let's just show them what you can do here, Craig.
Let's do it.
This is Craig Veltri. And today we're featuring Mr. Craig Veltri. This has been kind of an enlightening experience, and thank you for bearing your soul.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It was, yeah, wow. I'm, how you get from point A to point B, just absolutely, what a rocky, incredible road.
I wouldn't trade the road that I took for anything.
And I think that's the answer that because you've learned, the scars that you have make you a little tougher.
Yeah, I wouldn't have met the people that I've met, and I wouldn't have seen the places that I've seen. And my experience is invaluable to me at this point. It's the most valuable thing.
And once again, your podcast is called
The Craig Veltri Interview, drops every Friday at midnight on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network, and is now airing on Music from the 412, Mondays at 8 a.m., Wednesdays, I believe, at 10 a.m. and then Thursdays at 5. Check musicfromthe412.com for full airing.
We will be this will be on the Serenity Farm sites as well as YouTube and several other media platforms. So you're going to take us out with one more song. Tell us about that song, and I thank you so much once again.
My pleasure, Pat. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this platform. It's a wonderful thing. It could save a lot of people's lives, and I'm all for that. This song is based off that conversation I had on a hillside in the Poconos of Pennsylvania with a high school teacher named Derek. And it's a song that closes the record, Letters to the Defendant. It's called The Good Guy. You may not like me, I'm okay with that. I'll never be a hero in a white hat. I've fallen short, gotten high. I'm still the good guy. Been in and out of trouble since I was a kid. And here's my final payment for the bad things I did. I threw my life away just to get by, but I'm still the good guy. I have been abused, and I have used people and things to get me by. But if you don't believe I feel no grief, the proof is right here, I survived. Yeah. But if you don't believe I feel no grief, the proof is right here, I survived. So run on back and tell it from where you heard. Maybe I am getting just what I deserve, but you can stick it in your eye if you hate that I'm alive. I ain't worth much, but I try. I'm still the good guy. I'm still the good guy. I'm still the good guy. Say goodnight to the good guy.
Hey, thank you so much, Craig, and check him out. Look at his mass media, actually.
There is a lot of media on me these days.
Get out, check him out. What he's been through. So many of you experience the same, and just always promoting that there's always light at the end of that tunnel, right?
Absolutely. Hold on for just today. For today.
And we will catch you next time. Have a great day.